G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. Today I've got this Shimpaku juniper that belongs to a customer of mine. Now it's I don't know, it's a bit it needs work obviously. It's interesting in the sense that it's got this really nice piece of deadwood here. But unfortunately it's got only one branch that the whole thing's grown on. So it's a very long branch that's been twisted around to create some sort of tree. It's a little bit difficult, this tree, because this is the hardest bit. There's nothing on the branch at all from pretty much all the way. It's pretty much all the way. First branch starts here, and that is all bare. All that branch is bare until this branch here. This branch looks deceptive. It's not. It's up here on the tree. All this is dead here. All these branches here are dead. You can see that. So they're all dead here. So it's real interesting tree. I got to create all the details are in here. This big huge bend is not the most attractive, unfortunately. Could have had potential to. I could have actually maybe raised it. Maybe I'll think about raising it, making a little ruddy. Maybe, but that's going to be quite a bit of work to do that. Or I really shrink it down, right down, really compact it, which I can, right down and create some sort of. Try to eliminate that big curve on that branch and have a really small tree with this deadwood here as a feature. Maybe something small, interesting. I don't know, maybe get the branches to go underneath that branch. Just try something interesting. But yeah, the other option is go upwards, make a little radi. But this is a really ugly curve. So even if I was able to do that, it's not the most attractive curve. So first things first is I'm going to need to deal with this deadwood. It's a really nice piece. It's just been all cut off. There's not much I can do with my hand tools now because this is all hard. I need to use a kind of a Dremel. So we'll do some carving, a bit of carving, and just clean all this up. Just being interesting. I might put some few little hollows in there and just want to get all this old bark off. So bear with me while I do this, but it's always good to see how this is done. It's just purely. I just want to try and find just this bit here, trying to create a nice bit of gin that really stands out. So I'll get started. So I've done a bit of carving around here, made it more interesting. Now there's a lot of fibres left on this tree. Now what I do is get a tablecloth that I've wet, make it nice and wet, and try and protect this part of the tree that I'm going to do something with. Now, you've probably seen the technique before, but this is really good to burn off all the fibres. Now I've just got to get this out of the way. So it's all clear now. There's a nice wet towel there so it doesn't burn the foliage. Whatever you got, like a little blowtorch or some sort, I just got a little hand one. Then I'm just going to burn these fibres off. And they just burn off, and then you just slowly burns out, slowly burns. And if they start to get too much, you just blow it out. So once I've actually done a bit of burning off, I get my wire brush and try and brush all the bits away. So now what we've left with is a really nice polished, almost all the fibrous stuff is gone, and you're just left with the carved bit out. It's actually looks quite nice. It's in there, looks quite good. There's no little fibres, so that I can now paint that with lime sulphur. So I've been having a look at this tree, trying to work through the issues with it and then trying to find the best features and so on. Obviously this gin is really nice. I really like it, but I've got to be careful not to cover it up with foliage. I still wanted to make it a feature of the tree. My main issue is this trunk, this S bend that it's got. and that the first branch is really much here, and there's nothing absolutely until this branch here. I've actually put wire on to the main branches. So this one, there's 4 branches, 1, 2, 3, 4. I haven't done the top yet. And at the back. Now, I've been trying to work out, do I go a taller tree? Do I go a shorter tree? If you go taller, you get to see this S bend. It's not a nice natural bend in the tree. If I squash the tree, it's not too bad, but it's still not the best. So I'm in between. It's more of an in-between at the moment. I'm trying to think of a more creative solution. Now, one thing I do is if I start wiring the main branches at least, and then start to maneuver and manipulate the trunk and move branches and so on, things start to happen. So there was this branch here that was quite in your face. It was pointing out this way. I've actually moved it a little bit that way more. So I've been able to bend it this way more. Now that kind of opens up this part of the tree. So now if I try and compact it, I could still, if I compact it, I can have a drop branch here towards the back, still highlighting this nice bit of gin here. This branch I could just fix up and wire into this position out here, and it'll cover this S bend, that really big S bend. Or you just see a bit of this trunk going that way. Still see this. Now my main issue is this apex. It's extremely heavy in this section here, and that's my next issue I'm going to deal with. I've got a nice little branch here that will just go to the back, but my one thing I'm trying to think of is how I can. There is this very long, so this is the branch I think can go at the back and just sit there. There's this very long branch here that's wasted. I am thinking of bringing that around to create a new top. That's why I always wire things. So I'm going to move this little one out of the way, just for now. And I want to see if I can actually bring that around and create some sort of more interesting apex. At least then we've got some more movement in the tree. So I might set the tree back a little bit in terms of effort and time to regrow, but it might actually be really worthwhile. So it's moving quite, obviously junipers move quite easily, and when they're flexible like this, they really move quite well. So I've used quite heavy gauge. It's the same thickness as the branch I'm bending. So I want to see if I can get it right around and create some sort of new apex with it. And will it look like a good tree? There's no problems getting it all the way around. There's absolutely no issues at all. No breakage, no nothing, no cracking even. It's actually very flexible. I can get it all the way around and I can rebuild an apex. It is a customer tree. He very trusts me with his trees, so that's always a good thing. So I brought it all the way around pretty much. It's actually all the way now into here. So if I actually reduce this and create a new apex in here, a smaller tree, it'll be much smaller, much more interesting. And then I'll gin all this and create a gin with the apex and all this, creating extra features with this part. So I know it's a bit extreme, but really it's difficult to eliminate this really heavy apex that's not going to bend. This is a nice branch, but it's now going to be high. It's going to be higher than the actual apex branch. I'll leave it for now, but I might gin that off as well. So then I'll have a bit more of an interesting tree. So I'm gonna go for that. I'm hoping the owner likes it, but I think it's going to be a much better tree this way. What I'll first do though is fully wire all these branches into place, compact this right down to where I want it to be, and then start to build the lower half of the tree just to make sure that this is all going to look quite good eventually. So it's almost reducing the heaviness of this tree. That was my plan. Well, not really my plan, but that's just what came about, because if I'm going to reduce that there, you can see this bit is never going to work. I'm never going to be able to make it very convincing. Even if I work all these branches all the way around, it's still not going to be the best. All right, that's my plan. Let's see how I go with executing it. So I'm just going to put a guy wire to bring this trunk down. I use some bit of a hose. It's actually aquarium hosing kind of thing, and then I just hook it onto the thick wire, underneath the thick wire. I'm not on the actual branch, and then I just twist it quickly with my hand before I start to tighten it with my pliers. Okay, so not too bad. Now I actually see this is quite a nice feature of the tree. This will actually thin out a bit more and we'll get it looking quite nice and sits in there. I'll put layers in, of course. Obviously, there's not much else going on, but we've got to rely on all these branches in here to build up the remainder of the tree. I've actually wired the lower branch and wired all the pads. Wired this branch as well. Wired all the pads out. And I've actually wired this back one up as well. This one that was a bit higher up at the back. Now, I have been a little bit second guessing myself right now because I was trying to see if I can incorporate this in as the apex, which, you know, it might work, but then where am I going to put this big branch? Because if I could put that on the side here, this is the decision process. So if I put this on the side here, this will still have this really heaviness about it up here. I'm just not convinced this is the best tree in the future as well. Like, there's another couple of issues that there's pretty much nothing in here at the back here of this tree. So with this branch, if I use that, bring it around, make a new top with this and eliminate this part of the tree, make it a gin, at least this has all the branching and I can actually build a tree around it. The other obvious issue is always going to be this big hook in this trunk. There's not much we can do because regardless which I choose, it's still going to be impacted. So, because if this was my tree, even though this belongs to a customer, I think if this was my tree, I would definitely be doing that. And I think the customer would agree once I finish that this would be a better tree with this new branch in here. So the way I go about now is I try and wire this branch before I do anything to this, just in case it doesn't look that good. Okay, here's the fun part now. I've wired this entire branch. I've wired all the secondary branches. I haven't wired the tertiary branches, so you can see some bits are sticking out. In terms of the tertiary, I probably won't do it until I set everything in place and then check if I need to do it. So I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to use all these branches to create a new apex, a new top of the tree, and that's the intention. So let's start the fun part of removing, everyone loves to see this, removing the stuff that I don't need. So I will leave a gin, but I don't need a long one. I don't want to have long side bits. I want the main trunk as a gin. So I'm going to do this so you can see nice and easy how I'm doing it. Removing a branch at a time. Now you can probably see why I meant by this heavy branch. It goes this way. It really is ugly. It really ruins the look of the tree, even if I kept it. So I will cut almost this all the way back, but I'll peel it back, looking much better than it is. So I know, probably a bit of a shock to everyone. Something probably not everyone will do, but now I can use this branch to create a whole tree, create the new apex. I do have to do the ginning of this first before I do anything, so I'll just quickly do that. That looks nice. Nice little natural looking gin in there. Hope you can see that. Looks quite nice. First, what I am going to do is sorry about my arm, but I have to try and make sure I'm looking what I'm doing. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So I've gone up on the tree. Remember I said I have to go upwards so I can get a bit higher than this so it doesn't look as... so I'm trying to get a bend that goes around like this and then comes back and goes this way, getting this back into here. This part's pretty good, and I think I can form a nice apex out of that. But I just got to get this last part down, back the other way. And I might even be able to see this little gin now. I might be able to wire everything and you can see a gin in here, but it's more the apex. So you can see now, by using that one branch, it's higher than this branch. You can see that now, hopefully. Now it looks a mess, of course, but now it's just me fine wiring everything and getting it all perfectly into place. Even though I've got the wire on, it's just a matter of placing, and then I should have a really good tree. It's actually come along better than I expected. So much better decision to remove that high, tall bit that was just not going to be able to look good. Now I've got all this small, fine stuff that I can build a whole new tree out of. So I'm just going to wire this out, position all this now, and get a good looking tree. Now, okay, so I've completed the tree and the design. So you can see here how I've created a full new top of the tree, an apex with that one branch. I maneuvered this one that was back a little bit further back as well. I've left the gin, you can see it just poking through. The apex is around here. I've dropped this branch into here, and the tree's looking really good. I'm really happy that I decided to change that. Now, you're never going to be able to do anything about this branch, of course. Hopefully in time, some of these back ones can probably just fill in a little bit of the gap. Just let that drop. There's not much you can do. There's nothing we can really do about that. So nice all over look for this tree, I reckon. It's come up really nicely. Side on looks really good too. The whole tree looks quite nice. I'm going to just all I'm going to do is clean up these gins and put lime sulfur on them, and not much more than that. But a really, really good little tree now. The tree just has to recover and put out lots of foliage, lots of growth. There's quite a lot of growth on the tree already, which is good. Left quite a bit on this one because the juniper foliage is what drives the tree. It's the energy of the tree. So the more foliage a juniper has, the quicker it grows, the quicker it will recover. And you avoid juvenile growth and things like that on Shimpaku. So really, really good that I left quite a bit of foliage on all the foliage pads pretty much. But a very different tree, much more interesting now by removing that, rebuilding the tree with just that one branch at the back that's come up and really sitting in beautifully here. I'll put one branch around the trunk and into here, into this little gap here, so I can kind of frame the gin between the apex and the back branch. So it's actually come on pretty well too. Really, it's a really nice little tree now. Much more nice size. Looks really nicely defined. I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm happy with the decision to eliminate that apex and rebuild the apex. You wouldn't even know. It looks like that's how it's always been. So that's what I really wanted to achieve. So hopefully you guys like that. That's pretty much the finished tree. Apart from putting some lime sulfur, it's a bit wintry, so it's going to take a while for the lime sulfur to really bleach the wood well. But this is pretty much the final tree. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. And I'll see you next time for more videos.